Good evening. Thank you so much for coming. Hello. My name is Sarah Beline, and I'm the events coordinator here at Kramerbooks. On behalf of our entire staff, I'm so happy to welcome you to Kramer's tonight for one of our first events in our event season. We got started earlier in September. And I hope if you haven't already, you take a moment and pick up one of our events calendars. And if you haven't already, please follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, and sign up for our email newsletter. So thank you again so much for coming. I'm really pleased to welcome you. And I'm especially pleased to welcome Ann Hagedorn tonight for her new book, The Invisible Soldiers. The book tells about the privatization of America's national security and exposes where the industry came from, how it operates, and where it's heading. Ann's a journalist who's been a staff writer at the Wall Street Journal and has taught writing at Northwestern and at Columbia. Her previous books are Wild Ride, Ransom, Beyond the River, and Savage Peace. Please join me in welcoming her to Kramerbooks.
Thank you, Sarah. It's great to be here. Adjust this. And especially great to be here because I'm honored by the presence of another writer on this topic, David Eisenberg, who's sitting in the front row, and some familiar faces who people I've known for a long time who've come to this event. The Invisible Soldiers, as Sarah said, is the story of the privatization of defense and security. It's a narrative nonfiction book that is a trajectory telling the story from the mercenary renaissance of the second half of the 20th century into the age of drones. It's basically the story of the rise of a new industry of military and security companies. Some refer to this as the corporate evolution of the mercenary trade, but as I've been saying on the road, the word mercenary is loaded, and I try from the very beginning to erase it from the discussion, because a mercenary really has to be defined as an individual, a hired gun. It conjures the rather unsavory image involved of old world mercenaries involved in post-colonial, neo-colonial conflicts. And it's not that they don't exist anymore, but to call these companies and this industry that I'm telling you about, that you'll read about in The Invisible Soldiers, mercenaries, is a little misleading. Because basically today's version is fundamentally different, completely different. And the critical factor, of course, is that is the is the modern corporate business form. You know, these companies are hierarchically organized into incorporated and registered businesses, and they trade and compete internationally. They recruit internationally. They link to outside financial holdings and and provide a vast range of services in many markets worldwide. And so one thing that I've learned while I've been on the road is that there are many misconceptions. And one, of course, is that these companies are just about U.S. contracts, they are just about Iraq, or they're just about Blackwater, or some people know of them only through headlines about scandals. There are many misconceptions, and we'll get to a few discussions on that later. But one thing that you must realize is that this is an industry that's evolving right before our eyes, and has been for the last 25 to 30 years. It got a big boost, of course, in the Iraq War, which some people call the first contractors war, beginning in, of course, March of 2003. Some of these companies got their start then. Some larger companies, weapons manufacturers, the companies that Eisenhower would have referred to in the did refer to in the military-industrial complex, comment in 1961, some of those companies developing subsidiaries to accommodate to the new markets and the needs in Iraq. We have a boost in the bonanza of U.S. contracts in the War of Iraq, in Iraq, and then we go forward to now, where we could be facing what some people are calling the second contractors' war. But as I said, what we're watching and what I want my readers to be as fascinated by as I am, as I have been for the last several years, is the evolution of this industry and the vast array of services that the companies offer. From everything from logistics support, which is something we all know about through Hagedorn and Iraq, logistics support, air transport, intelligence analysis, militia training, weapons maintenance, weapons training, and police training. A vast array of services, and of course moving into armed security. And in many markets, in every continent, these companies have a presence, and they recruit internationally, and they do serve as brokers periodically for mercenaries, because what you have is some companies that are focus on armed security, and some that are, as some people call them, the department stores of defense and security, and offer a wide range of armed and unarmed services. But wherever instability threatens development on the global frontier, wherever military commitments exceed the capabilities of nations, wherever governments are viewed as incapable of supplying defense and security fast enough in times of sudden conflict, that's where there are markets for these companies. And more specifically in the United States, of course, they assist in contingency operations and, as we know, and remain long after traditional troops withdraw. They also are involved in counterterrorism strategies, diplomatic security, border patrol security, drone operations, and cybersecurity and intelligence analysis. And there are other markets. There are other markets in other countries, of course, other nations, and with multinational companies. I mean, multinationals hire these companies for armed security, for development in hostile environments. This has been happening for a long time. The shipping industry, one of the biggest markets is the maritime industry, maritime security, which is a fascinating story in and of itself. In each one of these areas, I would say one of the challenges of this book has been the fact that in each one of these areas, I could have written a single book. I could have written like a 10-volume set on the topic. And just the story of the development of maritime security is really interesting because the shipping industry debated this for a long time. But The Invisible Soldiers is a narrative nonfiction book, and it's what I'm trying to do is to show you through a story, through the trajectory of the rise of this industry, exactly how all of this happened. And also to hopefully pass on the fascination and the interest that I have for it onto you as the general reader. Because this is a relatively new industry, and it has passed through what I call the portal of permanence. It's part of our world. It's part of the U.S. Defense and security strategies, and it has a worldwide presence. And so, it's in the book. What I do is I move you through that trajectory, through introducing you to individuals. I take you to London. You sort of follow me around, but I take you to London and to